Welcome to Solutions with Courtney Anderson. I am Courtney Anderson, your host for the show, and I am thrilled, absolutely thrilled that you've joined me today. And we have a show that is part of the Joyful Art of Business series. And that, of course, is our sort of big picture theme, fundamental principle of everything that we do, which is that we should be practicing the joyful art of business. So that when we go about our lives, whatever that we're doing, that's our work, whether it's volunteer or paid or working for a nonprofit or for-profit, for government agencies or for private sector firm, doesn't matter. I don't care where we are on earth or beyond, doesn't matter. Whatever we're doing, it's art because we infuse our tasks in small ways and in large ways with, I'm going to use this, the essence of what makes us uniquely a special individual. So it's artistic. Why not? Right? Art is my expression of the way I see things and my perceptions and my ideas, and so is our work. And some of our work is actually as a formally recognized artist, but I believe all of us are artists, right? So no matter what you do, it's art. If it's your work, it's art. And as you're practicing this art of business, it should be joyfully done. Meaning that we don't want to just focus on, how much money did I make? What was my promotion? What do other people think of my job? No. How do you feel? One of the outcomes we're trying to avoid is getting somebody in a situation where they start to express guilt and shame and embarrassment because they'll say, well, I know I should be happy. I have a good job. Or I know I should be happy. It's great to have a family that's healthy. So I'm a stay-at-home parent, but I know I should be grateful. And it becomes this very abusive, self-destructive pattern where someone, again, feels awful that they're not feeling good about what's happening with their work. That their stomach hurts, their head hurts, they're stressed, they're overwhelmed, they're numb. And so that's what we're incorporating from the very beginning of our work process, the return on our investment of our time and our energy and our toil to see how do we feel? What's the point in other people thinking that we're doing great if we feel horrible, if we don't like what we're doing, if we don't love what we're doing, if we feel our life is meaningless, even though other people would say, but look at your job, look how fancy it is, or look at your family, you should be so proud. You are proud of those things, but it's not working for you anymore if it ever was. You must ask yourself, how do I feel? It's so important. So that's what we're doing in the series, and of course in our specific show today. Our show episode topic is lead, follow, or get out of the way. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. So that's our show topic. And it's interesting, as we were working on preparing the show notes and everything, I was, as always, just looking for data and information. And of course, this is one of these sort of, either colloquialisms or sayings that I was familiar with. Now, where it originated, I wasn't familiar. There's some sources that assert that from the Revolutionary War period from the United States, that Thomas Paine is the originator of this, and other people assert that that's absolutely inaccurate, and potentially that from the World War II period, United States General Patton was the one that's responsible for it, George Patton. Okay, this isn't necessarily supposed to be focused on, whether or not the author's intended use, right, of this at the time of this recording in 2014 is what was originally intended, but instead, it's to try to look at this idea for what the idea stands for. So I wanted to mention that, though, because if you go and you start to look on your own and try to figure out, well, where did this come from? Know that you need to dig a little bit deeper. Certainly the idea, right? The idea of what's being expressed is not difficult for us to understand, right? We got some options in this episode title: lead, follow, or get out of the way. So some choices, right? It's almost like, I guess I could, make it a little bit friendlier. Lead, follow, or get out of the way. So you make it a little bit more positive and uplifting there with our vocal. This to me is a bit of a challenge. I've shared in other programs and experiences, and will continue to do so as long as community members like yourself share that it might potentially be helpful. My own journey, and early in life as a aspiring entrepreneur, I've always wanted to be a business person. I always wanted to, and when I say that, I used to think, well, did I really want that? And I went when I moved a few years ago, relatively recently, and I went. When you move, unless you're just not making good choices, it's ideally a good idea to go through your stuff before you go pay or go through the hassle of literally moving it to some other place, right? So maybe I don't even need to move this. Maybe it needs to be in the trash. Maybe I need to give it to I was going to say to Goodwill or some other charitable organization in your area. Why do I have this stuff? And so when I was doing that, I was going through things and I was going through papers, and I found old diaries and sort of, my dear diary from when I was a young person. And when I went through it, I did fine. And I mean, obviously this is, and it either shows that I had a lot of foresight or that I'm just a very dull person who hasn't changed much from, when I was 10 years old. I don't know how to interpret it, but I wanted to do a couple things. I love writing, so I wanted to do something, with writing, which I'm fortunate enough to do now. I loved the idea of business. And I'm not really sure if I loved the idea of business or entrepreneurship, because it wasn't like I had a specific business. Part of it probably was, and I've shared in other programs, that both of my grandmothers came from families with a history. They had parents and uncles and relatives who owned businesses, and in some instances they continued to take care of rental properties or businesses. And so I think maybe that influenced it. So it wasn't like a specific business I wanted to be in. It wasn't like I want to own a restaurant, or I want to own a dress design store. It was never that. It was just I think it was just the idea of being autonomous, right? Of like doing your own thing. And then I'd heard people, and also when I was young, been on site on visited, a family funeral home and other family businesses. So I'd seen it. And I guess maybe that was part of it. So I think it was probably not, I want to have a specific type of industry. I still today don't necessarily have that beyond sort of my skill set and interests. But I think it's just the idea of, it seems so exciting and fun and challenging and different. And then I think as I probably got older, I realized it also provided different options in life, and I love options. But I found these old diaries, and there I am as a little kid, right? I dated, I'm so either conscientious or nerdy. I dated all, and my handwriting has never been my strong suit. So I sort of block print ish my handwriting. It's the same. So I'm reading it and I'm trying to be neat because I know how I am, and I'm looking, and I've sure enough had the same things I'm doing now. Writing, business. And then later on, I knew I liked talking. I wasn't really sure where that would go. I have other relatives who are lawyers, and so that was another one of those things where I knew people who did that, lawyers and judges. And so all these things may have been just things I picked up from family experience and not original at all. Who knows? But sure enough, all these years later, I'm basically doing exactly the same thing that I wrote down I was going to do. So for whatever that's worth, part of that journey of growth, when I was a very young entrepreneur, so after I finished high school and was living on my own, of course I wanted to get right to my dreams, writing, speaking in some way, and then owning my businesses, which I was doing because I was in school. But I had started several little different businesses that none of them that succeeded at all, some of which failed painfully and catastrophically, and I've shared in other programs a lot of the lessons I learned from early business failures. But it's interesting because I used to have these speeches I would give to what I consider to be my team, right? Now you have to understand I'm literally like 18, 17, 18 really because I knew I needed to wait till I could sign contracts. Okay, so 18, 19, 20. Because by 20 I'd graduated from college and I'd moved on to go to law school. So in this period I'm relatively young, and I would have these people that I would consider like, and they were almost all just sort of friends or people I knew, right? Because I didn't have any money. I have no money. Like I've shared in other programs. This was, I was working like a minimum wage job, right, in food service or something. I don't have any money. I just have all these ideas, and so I would go find other people who I knew, who almost all were some sort of social friend or something, and I would treat them and I would give these speeches to people. Like in my head, it was like, this is my team. We're going to build this business. I know I'm so happy the internet did not exist. I can only imagine the horror I would feel if I could see if the technology had existed back then to like record me giving these speeches and what I'd said to these people. I mean, I'm sure it would be interesting, but for me, it would be horrible, right? Because I had in my head this idea that I was speaking to my business, right? And I'm building this and it's going to be big and awesome. And I would say basically to them this little version of a speech. It was basically like, we're getting on the bus. Here's where we're going. And I was always very detailed with, what the end goal was for the business. And, you're going to get on the bus, you're with me or not, lead, follow, we'll get out of the way, right? Like I used to say this to people and give these impassioned sort of quasi-motivational, probably quasi-delusional speeches, right, about my business dreams. So I've been doing this a long time. Again, I don't know where that comes from, right? Who knows? So at who I was then, I really believed, like, we're going to do this, right? Like, you do things in life. I believe you lead. I still believe in leadership, which is not a coincidence. Why? I teach, my MBA students a lot of the leadership and, of course, management, organizational strategy. All these things this has been, decades. I still believe in leadership, and I still believe we got to get stuff done, right? I believe my own sort of warped perception is that I've been educated and taught by experiences in my life to be a little bit more understanding of the other parts of the equation. So lead, option 1, follow, option 2, option 3, get out of the way. And I used to just sort of relentlessly with this imaginary team. I didn't have any money, so it wasn't like I was just trying to motivate people to join me on a journey of potential. Like most people with those personalities, none of it exists. And all of it that I'm describing to people is all stuff I see it's all in my head. It's a very weird personality trait. So I was so focused on the leadership part because that was the part that I was trying to get done. I was trying to make things happen. The following part was important because I need people. That's why I was trying to, coax these random friends and social peers and classmates to, come on board. We're opening this business. We're doing this. And the get out of the way part I really focused on when I was younger because I felt like, okay, if you don't believe in this, if you're not willing to put everything you have into this, then come on. And I don't mean money. I wasn't necessarily that. I mean, I was just trying to get people to come on, like, we've got to, we got to make it happen. Let's put in our, our labor, and I'm going to try to figure out how to get this business going and find investors. And I mean, I was willing to, I'm shouldering all that, but I need help, right? But I'm not able to pay anybody. It's not like it was a real viable business with income and revenue. At the beginning, it was just me dreaming. And so I sort of really felt like I had this chip on my shoulder, like, get out of the way. Come on, you're on board. This is a vision. And unfortunately, the same things I do now, I've done since I was obviously very young, right? Like I've shared this. I love reading about business. I'd read about business people. I'd read not just, biographies and autobiographies. Those are interesting too. And I still do voraciously, read those about not just business leaders, but all types of leaders. I like reading about historical figures and political figures and all kinds of people who anybody that you've left enough of an impression that people are studying you. I'm interested. I want to read about it. And so I just was obsessive, certainly when I was younger, about, this is happening. Like, this is going to happen. These visions are going to, some kind of way, it's going to, manifest, and people need to get out of the way. They're either contributing and making it real or to leave. Like I said, life has, I've been fortunate enough to stay alive, right? So I've had, experiences that have taught me all kinds of things. And one of the things I've learned is that it is a rare personality who's just that sort of obsessively focused on the vision thing, as they call it. And I didn't really understand that when I was younger, and I would get frustrated with people, and I would go to people and be like, okay, what's your vision? What do you think? And then a lot of people would say, maybe they have a suggestion, but I used to get mad and think, well, why aren't they coming up with some of this? I have elaborate ideas. I projected sales, of our, whatever business. And I do realize now that that's not sort of an average person's free time. I mean, most people don't do stuff like this. And I didn't even have the skills. This is before this is, like I said, this is in a period, as I was working to finish my undergraduate bachelor's degree, but I hadn't even gone to my MBA program, which I didn't go to until after law school. I learned a lot, of course, once I started having businesses that were financially viable, where I did have money to pay people, and it was a real business, quote unquote. My law office was the first sustainable example of this, which I didn't open until I was, I think, like 26 years old, somewhere around there, right? So, and now all these years later, of course, I feel like, oh yeah, but the the point is, it's just rare, and I used to get mad and think, well, why don't more people just come up with these ideas? Like, we all have to come up with ideas, and we can all make businesses, and it'll be great. I do understand more of what the options are for most people in terms of their imagination. So, leadership in terms of the vision thing, where you're just imagining stuff, right? Like, I'm going to build this business, or I'm going to go explore the world, or I'm going to go to Mars, or I'm going to run for prime minister or president, or some kind of, I'm going to win the Olympics. Like, when people who do that, where it's just in your imagination and yet you believe it and you start to construct, like, the plan and to execute, those are, like I said, they're either traits that sort of everybody has but very few people will share, probably because other people look at you like you're silly or mentally challenged. When you have all these really elaborate plans that sound to some people delusional, right? So either everybody has them, but just few people are silly enough to say it, like me running around saying all this stuff forever, or very few people actually even have these ideas, and just people think different things. Like, I don't want to go build, a thing. I just want to go out and be part of it. And somebody said to me a long time ago, said, I don't need to know how an airplane works to fly on one, to ride on one. And it's the same idea, right? You don't have to know how sausage is made to eat it. And many people who don't have experience with all of that it takes, right? Animals have to be slaughtered and stuff has to be done. Most people who don't have that experience, if they went and experienced how sausage was made, probably would not feel as comfortable when they, going out and just buying it at a nice, market. And the argument that the person said about, hey, I'm just flying on the plane, I don't have to know it. I don't have to know. I just have to sit on there quietly and, take a nap and let the other pilots and whoever take me there. There's something to that. I don't personally want to need to know how the sausage is made. It probably would overwhelm me just being part of a commercial, making meat products. So I can't sit here and say that I haven't learned to respect as much as I can all of these different choices. And the reality is, I'm only into this vision thing in certain areas. And they're almost all about some sort of business or project or activity like that. I'm not like that about being athletic. I can tell you right now, and I've given this example in other programs, because it helps. Because I think sometimes people interact with somebody who's really good at one thing or known for being good at something, and they get overwhelmed and intimidated and think, wow, those people, they just have it all together. Yeah, maybe in a few areas or one area. But just like I know people who are exceptional, business people by almost any measure in terms of income, notoriety, things that they've done that maybe no one else has done, or creating industries or creating products and services or whatever, or the accolades that they've accomplished. And so, I mean, and the one that I always focus on, and they feel pretty good about themselves. They're practicing that their business art joyfully. So they're, they feel good about themselves, they're kind to themselves, they're kind to others, they look forward to what they do. So they really do have it all in that one area, or maybe two areas. But you don't go and have it where everybody's like that exceptional vision in every area. One, just because there's not enough time. You see people who are very, and I use this a lot as an example for me because it's clear. I'm not athletic at all. I never have been. I never, it might be the opposite of were my interests as a child. No one in my family was really athletic that I ever saw. I think there were some relatives when they were younger that had been in sports, but I had never seen anybody do it professionally or had any interest. Most everybody was in the things I'm interested in too, which is probably why I'm here, right? The business, professions like, law, teaching. What a surprise, right? So I didn't have any really role models to see it. And the other thing is I don't enjoy it necessarily. It's not something where I went out when I was in physical education as a kid and it was like, let's go running. And I was like, I can't wait to go do exercise. I don't mind exercising, but I never was like into sports. Again, I don't know how much of that is I just didn't have it role modeled. And so I didn't develop an early interest in it. I also have learned after some embarrassing, horrible things where I did try a little bit on different sports activities when I was in middle school and high school, and it was obvious that for whatever reasons the high level hand-eye coordination and running and jumping and all this kind of stuff, I don't have it. Maybe there was a potential at some point, but it was never developed. So by the time I went to go try out for some high school sporting team I went to try out one time for the track team, and I only went to try out for it for a couple of reasons. But one, because there were a lot of really good looking young gentlemen that I wanted to spend time potentially getting to know. Maybe somebody there would take me, to prom or something. I wasn't interested in, I'm going to go to the Olympics. The reality, of course, was when I got out there, people sort of show up to try out and they have different events and they're just like, okay, now run from, here to there. And I did it. And one of the coaches, team staff said something like, no, not a warm up, but like really sprint. And I was like, that was my sprint, right? And I wasn't kidding. So for many reasons, if someone said to me, and it has happened in the last couple of years, there's be some sort of social activity where I think, I want to go do a 10K. And I'll get to meet people, or some people I know are doing it, and there's like a training program where you'll get to go every week and meet the people and, train to get ready so that you can do this, event in the future. I sign up for stuff like that because it sounds fun to me because I like talking and hanging out. And I actually like walking. I walk my dogs, I like walking. So I'll sign up for it, but I don't sign up for that and think, I'm going to be great at this. I even told somebody recently, bowling, which is a sport. I like it. I think it's fun. I enjoy the whole thing. I love the bowling alley, the sounds of the bowling and the pins. And I like picking out my bowling ball. I love all of it. The thing is, I have no talent. My score is horrible. My ball goes in the gutter. On some instances, my ball has fallen off my hand while my hand was back. I was swinging to go forward. People laugh at me. The last time I went bowling, a little child in a lane close to our sort of social group came over and offered to help me. He felt sorry for me, I'm sure. It was pretty sad. Actually, the thing though, in the sports arena, right, bowling, golf, and other, I enjoy going to these things, but I don't have any overwhelming fantasy or vision of dream that I'm going to learn this and I'm going to go out and do this, professionally, and it's going to be the greatest thing ever. I just have fun doing it. The challenge is that when I run into my doppelganger, right, I run into a version of myself who's taking this really seriously, who has that same sort of lead, follow, get out of the way thing, but it's not about, business or law or my areas. It's about sports. So this has happened. I've gone to the thing thinking I'll have fun, it'll be great. And then the people who are the version of me, and this is their area for the vision thing, they get very angry because they feel like I'm not taking it seriously, And so I've been on both sides of this. So what I try to do now is this: recognize that all of this has validity and that most of us have been in all of these positions in life. And some things, maybe we have that lead vision thing. Maybe it's a work, for profit thing. Maybe it's our household. A lot of people I talk to have that. It's like, I'm doing this with my kids and they have a vision. Now I'm the opposite. I don't have a huge vision. I'm more of a, relaxed. I'm either going to follow or just go along and get along, in these other areas. So like I said, we all have more likely than not some experience with all of this. Sometimes we're leaders. Sometimes we're followers. Sometimes we get out of the way. What I try to do when I know it's something where I don't have that vision thing about that area, I try to upfront explain that and define it for people so there's not a misunderstanding where someone doesn't say, "Well, I thought you were serious," and I'll say, "I am serious. Like I'm here every time, right? But I'm never going to probably be like the league winner in our softball team. You don't want me if you're looking for somebody to score the winning goal in our adult soccer team. I'm not going to be the one that's going to take us to the Professional Bowling Association, top event. And I'm not worried about it. I just am here for other reasons, whatever, because I like these activities. I think it's fun. I enjoy the socializing. I like being outside. Like to me, I have other reasons. And I'm not trying to do anything grander with this other than enjoy it. And I try to be really upfront so that other people who are doing the leadership thing can either do that with other similar like-minded people, and then I can be around other people who are more, I'm going to just follow. I am delighted in all these events in life when somebody else is like, I'm doing it. I can't do it. I don't know enough about it. And it's not something that I'm driven to do. These other things I'm driven to do. I was doing them as a child. I've been doing them as an adult for imaginary endeavors. I've been doing these forever. I'm just driven. I do this. I would do the business and the dreaming and the writing and the talking, whether or not I've been able to turn it into, being a lawyer, being a speaker, being a consultant, being an author, having shows like this. I would still be doing this because I've always been doing it. On the other token, I never was doing these. I'm just using sports because it's easy example. I never did that. Now I've always taken part in things. I like being physically fit. I like feeling that when I go to the doctor, oh, you're in great shape. Everything looks wonderful. I like feeling nice and, in my opinion, looking aesthetically, my best. And I like I said, getting out and spending time doing the activities. I just am never going to be somebody who's going to, yes, we're going all the way. It's not my vision. I'm not going to put that much work into this when it's more fun for me. What's all of this about? Look, if you have a problem, and what's a problem? A problem is I'm getting bad outcomes. What's a bad outcome? Look at the outcome and look at the results and look at what your goal was. So if the goal was, I'd like to have more people think positively of me, but the outcome is people tell you that you're a horrible person and they don't want to spend time with you because you yell and scream at them whenever they don't do what you expect them to do with your vision thing, that's a bad outcome. I had bad outcomes when I was really young, like I mentioned earlier, and I was getting all these, friends and people together, and I was trying to motivate them to see my vision. I had bad outcomes. People got mad at me and told me, many people, especially people who were my friends, said to me, "You're being, a dictator. You're not. This isn't right. We don't want to come to this or hang out with you." And what it was is, one, I was very immature and had very poorly developed leadership, business, organizational, strategic management goals and skill sets. And the other thing is I just was not listening to my outcomes. I wasn't handling it the right way. I had to change my behavior. Now I change my behavior. I go and I get more education. It's one of the reasons I went to earn my master's degree in business administration is because I knew I need more business specific. And I like academic programs, so I was like, I'm going to go earn a graduate degree in business administration because I love business, but I need more knowledge to be able to take my raw interest and obsession and all these dreams and everything and start to make them exist and be able to persist, right? So I can keep feeding myself and making money and then begin to grow into some of the things I want to do. If you have an area where you have that vision thing, then and again, I will continue to be curious about where it comes from and why some people have it or why some people have it and express it, which is, I don't know. If you have it and whatever it's about, some kind of business thing, it's about your family and your household, it's about sports, it's about video games, it's about fantasy football, it's about, wildlife, it's about, bird watching, it's about, chess, or I don't care what it is, or tennis shoes, like fashion. I really don't care what it is. It's great to have something that you're passionate about and you have that vision leadership thing. Because if you have nothing, it does tend to put people in a position where they have a very difficult time igniting their own sort of pilot light for their joy. So again, it could be in your family, it could be in your pets, it could be in your friends, it could be in your online life, it could be in books. I don't care what it is, but there needs to be something that kind of turns you on. That's the thing though where you're going to go and you're going to want to lead, right? It may be your book club, it may be knitting. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I could sit here all day and do this, right? Do your thing. Lead. But let people know up front that this is your thing. You have a vision for that book club. You have a vision for your bird watching group. You have a vision, and then people will know it's a big deal to you. You also need to always watch your outcomes. Is it where people say, "Oh, I'm really glad you did all that extra work, setting everything up for our bird watching club," or is it you're really mean and you hurt people's feelings when we don't know all of the correct identities correctly for the birds, and now nobody wants to go hang out with you? So you got to look at your outcomes. And again, you have to explain to people. Not just like I said, I messed up. I didn't have the age and the maturity and the wisdom to understand. Not everybody thinks the same way, and they don't think the same way about the same things. So when you're in a leadership thing where it's like that vision, you're obsessed with it, it's turning you on, then just tell people. They'll be more than happy in most instances. Good. Somebody else needs to do all the work. Let you lead. They want that. But you need to take responsibility for how you treat people then, and respect that. Now that you claimed you're leading, all right, then you build it. Tell us what it is. Tell us how to do it. Tell us when. Get it organized. Figure out the infrastructure. It's up to you. Lead. All of this stuff. I mean, you got to figure it out because it's in your head, so nobody else can see that. So that means you got to take whatever's in your head and your vision for the book club, for your family, for the business, for your pet cat, like whatever it is. You got to sit down, take responsibility for getting that vision clarified so that you can go ahead and communicate it clearly to other people and then turn it in reality. It's a lot of work. It should keep you busy. Remember at all times, monitor how you're treating yourself and how you're treating other people. If it's something like where you just enjoy it, but you just want to follow, again, upfront, tell that to people. That's what I do when I go to a book club or I go to my exercise group. I say, I'm here for fun. I mean, I'm here for fitness and I like this, but I'm not going to competitively do this with you. I'm not going to, be in a race for who is the best, in our Zumba dance exercise class. I really honestly am not, it's not a thing like that for me. I'm going to flail around, probably doing the wrong thing at the wrong time, but I do it with gusto. I have fun. I'm burning, my energy and I'm getting in shape, but I don't care what other people think about me. I'm going to dress goofy as long as it's fitness related and makes me feel like I can get my, perspiration taken care of, and I'm just going to get out there and do my goofy fun thing. And as long as I'm upfront about that and I let everybody know I'm following, I have zero interest in leading, then everything can work really nicely. I can make good friends, I can have a good time, I can learn new things, and I'm following, and I'm happy to follow because I got other stuff on my plate. This isn't my area of my vision thing, my obsession thing. Sometimes it's a situation where I'm not even a good follower. I'm not tuned in enough or dedicated enough. I might have done it one time, but I don't want to join the league. I don't want to come here every, Tuesday and do this. I would do it like once in a while, but I'm not even committed enough to do it every, whatever the expectation is. I tell people because you know what? I need to get out of the way because I don't even have enough interest, like I said, time, whatever. It's not enough of a priority for me to even just do it in the structure that whoever is leading that needs it to be done. And I need to tell people. And more importantly, first I need to tell myself, stop lying to yourself. You're not even really going to be a good enough follower because you're not going to show up for all that stuff because it's not that. Something else could come up. This will be the first thing that you're going to say, I'm going to reschedule. Which means the people who it's really important to, who that is their vision leadership thing, now you've offended them and hurt their feelings, right? And that was the opposite of what the goal was. You got to get out of the way. So I'll say to people sometimes, I loved this. It was fun. It was interesting. I'm not going to be able to join and come, the structured for the whole softball season or whatever, but I'll be a backup. Put me on the list if something happens to somebody or you need somebody. I'll come when I can and take part and watch and have fun and go out to eat afterwards or whatever. Or I'll come to the Zumba class when I can, but don't count on me being at this one class at this time every week. I go, different times depending on my schedule. I got out of the way. So part of what I was hoping to do in this episode was to take this to a broader perspective of just sort of that, there's a general or there's some thought leader, lead, follow, get out of the way, right? That's sort of the idea, the entrepreneur, right? Yeah, that's part of this, but it's your whole life. There's going to be stuff in your life that you're going to have those obsessive vision things and you just have to lead. And I just argue that you really need to look at your outcomes, how you treat other people, and you need to take all the responsibility then for taking stuff in your imagination, making it real, and you need to treat other people right at all times with kindness and respect. People can't follow unless you detail and make it easy for them to be allowed to do so. All right? There are things in life where follow. Just tell the people up front, I'm here to follow. But I'm dedicated, so I'll be here every meeting or I'll be at every book club. I'm just never going to be the one that leads, right? But I'm following and I'm following well. I'm not going to do anything else outside of this though. That's great. People know how to count on you. And then there's some times where it's just not even working for that. You're not going to be able to follow at the level that whoever's leading needs you to do so that they're comfortable. And you got to get out of the way and say to people, hey, I really like this. I can't dedicate, as much as you guys would like. So what I'm going to do is ask if you ever need an extra person or put me on the backup list, or I'll just see if I can drop in and, watch or listen whenever you guys do this, when it fits my schedule. Then everybody's happy and relaxed. Nobody's feeling like they were betrayed or disappointed. And that's the key. So all of us will lead, we will follow, and we will get out of the way. I'm begging you to take responsibility for this choice. Only you can decide. When you're ready to lead, you almost feel like you have to. There's no other way. You dream about whatever it is. Then step up, speak up, create the plan for how, so that your followers will know what you want to do. And then treat people with respect, motivate them, empower them, thank them, be grateful. And you'll be amazed what you can accomplish. When you're following, tell people up front, I'm just here to follow. Even if people say, but you have such strong leadership skills, you'd be great at this. No, I wouldn't be great at this. I got enough on my plate. Or even if I have way too much free time, this is just not where I want to apply those skills. I'm here just to follow. So somebody else, show me where the leader is. Take me to your leader because I'm following. You must maintain that. And then there are going to be times when you liked it or it was interesting or you tried or maybe, but it's just not going to be where your investment will equal what the leaders and the other followers expect. You got to have to tell them, I'm getting out of the way so somebody else can step up into one of these roles that is better suited. As long as you do that, first sit down with yourself and make the decision, communicate it as soon as possible so that there's not that, again, where people are disappointed and feel like, why did you betray us? You're going to have much better outcomes for yourself, your own emotional return on investment. You're going to be able to better allocate. There's only so much time for any of us. The things that you've driven to lead, the things that you really, hey, I didn't have to lead. And remember, it's always good, though, to be in the different positions, because every time you're a follower, it reminds you of all the things you need to learn and remember as a leader. Every time you're a leader, it reminds you what you need to remember as a follower. And these are all good positions. And if you are somebody where you feel like, I have to lead everything, then you're not leading. What you're trying to do is control things, which is a totally different set of behaviors. Control freaks are people who are driven by fear and insecurity, right? And they're making really bad choices. And they create a lot of really bad outcomes. Leadership is about vision. That's what we've been talking about, vision, right? And then having the ability to take that vision and have enough motivation and authority and influence over other people to get them to follow you. Okay? So I hope at the end of this we revisited, irrespective of the original authorship, the idea that there are so many roles that we play, that there's honesty we must have with ourselves about leadership. If you have some idea, secret dream, obsession, you have to put that in the world. You have to tell at least yourself. Sit down and make a plan. If you want your cat to be the number one, show cat in the world, why not start working on that? Reading about it, planning. Whatever your heart or mind or soul or spirit or brainwaves, I don't care whatever it is, but ideas that are in there that you never want to share with other people, share them. Write it in your diary or your journal. Put it on your vision board. I don't care how you start, but then you need to say to yourself, why not me? And it may be starting some big, huge thing and changing history. And it may be that you went and learned how to be a great, cupcake maker. And it may be that you led your book club to the best book club ever. Or it might be that, you felt like you were the best parent that you ever you surpassed your goals and couldn't believe how awesome it all turned out. I mean, I don't care what it is, but you need to get out there and be honest with yourself about whatever you're thinking and hearing inside, and go with at least one of these things so that you have a place in your life where you feel like your vision is out in the world. And the kind of, like I said, it turns you on. Like the joy you get from that, just the trying part, no matter what the outcome is good. It kind of make you feel alive, right? So put one of those, at least one. Now, if you have something where you tell me everything in your life, you're a leader. You're a visionary. You do is marathons and triathlete, and then you also run multi-billion-dollar businesses, and then you also have the best family ever. And then at some point, it's just way too much. And the other thing is you got to let other people step up, because great leaders are developing new leaders. So if you're one of those people, I do everything perfectly. No, you don't. A and B. you're making really bad choices all about, that desire for control, which is totally different from leadership. I'm talking about leadership, the vision thing. Your imagination, bringing it into something manifested in life. It's very different. And you share. You should be able to finish this episode and go write down right now, when you do your quiet reflection time, some of the things you do to lead, or that you will do. That's usually the area people are weakest in. Some of the things you do as a follower. And some of the things that maybe you've been doing as maybe a leader or even a follower, but you don't really want to do them at all at that level, right? You're sick of volunteering for that club, or you're sick of leading that, work group. Get out of the way and let somebody else do it. All of these together and all of these experiences, as I said, over the decades, I've started to learn more about myself, hopefully become a slightly wiser person. And I don't hope, but I plan that the same will happen for you. So wherever it is where you're like, oh, I haven't had a lot of experience in that, well, then you need to start doing that. You need to start either following or leading or both. And you must always be willing to speak up and say, you know what? I'm not going to be on that planning committee for the barbecue. Or, our family reunion this year, I'm going to let somebody else do it. Get out of the way. By doing that, it also prevents the problem where some people overschedule everything, right? Not even, not that thing where I'm a control freak and I'm leading it all, but you just have so much on your plate. You're so busy because you're scared of ever having downtime, because you're scared to be with yourself and figure out what you really want. The only way it's going to happen is you got to take stuff off your plate, so you open up that time so you can just sit and listen to yourself, be creative. The vision thing must have time for somebody to sit around and explore the vision. If you don't have the time for that, then it truncates and it prevents you from being able to move forward with the leadership vision thing, because you don't even know. Because what do you know? You woke up and all you did was run around doing this, and then you went to sleep for like 4 hours, and then you got right back up and did it all over again. And A, that's unhealthy, and B, now you never have any time with yourself. People who do that are frightened of other issues. So take stuff off your plate, tell people you're getting out of the way, then sit with yourself and start going through what turns me on, what's my vision, what is it that I really let me take a follow position and just let somebody else do the big picture stuff, and I'm just going to sit here and do the part I like. And there'll be other stuff where, honestly, I know for every one of us, there's things on your plate when you sit there and look at it that you realize, I don't even want to do any of this at any level. I'm going to go ahead and get out of the way. If I do a little of it every once in a while, fine. If I don't do any of it ever again, I did enough of it, fine. But you got to get out of the way. Let other people do that. All right. Oh, I'm so happy that you were part of the program today. I do encourage you to come to CourtneyAnderson.com and share feedback, ideas, sign up for anything that you see that may be of interest. And always, of course, let me know what's on your mind. Thanks.